Good evening, everyone. I am so excited to talk to you. Today, we're going to talk about 5 signs that they're never going to promote you. So, a lot of you are in situations, especially if you are high achievers, whether you are a senior professional with more than 15 years of experience, whether you're a director looking to move up, or frankly, any level. Sometimes we understand that we've been working hard, we've been creating great results, but we're in a situation where the organization is not promoting you and you're wondering why. Maybe you've already had that conversation and they keep telling you, not yet, we can't, we don't have the budget, and it's frustrating. So you get to the point where you're wondering if it's worth it for you to stay or leave. And so today I'm going to talk about the 5 signs that it is time to actually leave so that you're not wasting your time in a situation that doesn't serve you. Okay, so who am I and why do I know any of this? Well, I've been in your exact situation where I worked hard, I paid my dues, and I did not get promoted. I mean, I did get promoted in some organizations, but there have been situations where I was overdue for a promotion and I was very frustrated. And so I have learned the signs of an organization that is serious about promoting me and the signs where an organization is not serious and just telling me what I want to hear in order to stay. I also know this because I have worked with more than 1,000 professionals, and most people who come to me, it is because they are frustrated. They are frustrated that they haven't gotten promoted. They know that they deserve an additional $70,000 to $100,000 to their salary. They know that they're great at what they do. They know that they're talented, and it just doesn't make sense to them why they're not getting promoted. If you are in a situation where you're seeing your organization hiring external people and placing them in the role where you should be at the next level, let us say, for example, you are a senior individual contributor and the next level is director. But instead of promoting you, they hire someone externally and they place them at the level that they've been promising you where you would grow into. That is a bad sign, okay? Because if they really valued you, they would invest in you and coach you to get to the next level. It boggles me what organizations do in terms of how they would rather hire externally and spend a lot of money hiring externally versus developing their internal loyal talent. But that is, something that is very common that my clients experience. And when we work together, there is still that resistance inside them where they don't want to leave because they're still hoping that the company will turn around and promote them. And listen, I get it. You have invested so much of yourself into this organization. And for you, going somewhere else feels like starting over, especially if you've spent more than 2 years at the same company. I will say more than 2 years, it becomes more difficult for you to leave because you become invested. It is like being in a long term relationship. It is easy to end a relationship when you've been only dating someone for like a year or less. But when you stay longer, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, then it becomes difficult because you start losing yourself. You start feeling like, oh my God, I don't want to start over, like getting to know someone else. Maybe you've invested so much in the relationship emotionally, financially, and there's a lot of attachment that happens because as human beings, we attach to things. It doesn't matter what type of relationship, whether it's a personal relationship, a professional relationship, we are emotional creatures and we are creatures of habit. And it becomes very difficult for us to detach and enter into a new relationship because of how we are designed biologically. But the problem is when we, cave into our comfort zone and stay in a situation that does not value us, you are going to miss out on years of your life. You are like, hope is not a strategy. Hope is absolutely not a strategy. So let's talk about some of the signs in more details. I kind of touched on them, but I want to deep dive into them. So the first sign that it is time to leave is when you're constantly waiting to be noticed. This is a psychological phenomenon called the tiara syndrome. It is coined by, Deborah Kolb and Carol, I don't know how to pronounce the name, Frolinger. It's popularized, by a psychologist called Sandberg. And the belief is that if you do excellent work, someone will place a crown on your head. This is why it's called the tiara syndrome. Um, it's also reinforced by the self-verification theory, which means if your self-concept is that if I'm the reliable one, then you unconsciously seek work that confirms it because you have this need to be seen as someone who is reliable. And I see this in high achievers. We want to be seen as reliable. We value integrity. And so what you end up doing is you keep taking on more and more and more work because you want to be seen as the reliable one and because you want that tiara or recognition. And so I want you to think about 3 people who decide your promotion. Think of those 3 people. I want you to do this exercise with me. Then ask yourself, what have they personally seen you do in the last 90 days? Not heard about, seen you do. So I'm pretty sure that those people saw you do the work. Have they recognized you for it, and have they basically said to you that you are going to get promoted? What is the feedback that they gave you? Because if they're seeing you do the work and it's pretty logical that there's evidence of it, but they keep making excuses that you're not ready, then you know something is off. You know that this is a sign that it's never going to change. Again, it's like being in a relationship. Your partner in the relationship sees you do all these wonderful things all the time, but they'll never propose. They'll never take the relationship to the next level. And so you're constantly like fighting them and proving to them. And the more they invalidate you, the more you try to prove that you should take it to the next level. And so that is a very toxic cycle. And you know that you don't need to prove yourself more than that. If they're not seeing, if they're not acknowledging that you are operating at that next level, and it's been going on for 90 days, it's been going on for 6 months, it's been going on for a year, then it's pointless. It's never going to change. They will never change your mind and they will never promote you. Okay, let's talk about sign number 2. You've accepted vague feedback as real feedback. What I mean by vague feedback, and I hear this very often with people who reach out to me, is they will literally hit all the KPIs. They increase the revenue at the organization. They release products. They achieve results. But then their boss nitpicks on something silly, unrelated, and has nothing to do with business outcomes. They will look for something that is subjective, because when something is subjective, then it's hard for you to prove that their feedback is wrong, right? For example, a common thing that some people share with me that their bosses would tell them is, oh, you lack executive presence. You need to work on your executive presence. This is why you can't get to the next level. Even though all the KPIs and the business outcomes are met. Or they'll say something vague, like you're not quite ready. What do you mean I'm not quite ready? Give me an example. Ready for what? What is it that I'm not doing? Give me feedback. Tell me what I need to work on. And there's nothing concrete there. And this is how they hook you. They make you blame yourself. They make you question yourself. And then you just don't know what to fix anymore. And that's basically good enough for them to keep telling you that they're not going to promote you. So, in order for the feedback to be specific, there are three things that need to happen. You need to understand what specifically would need to be true in order for you to get promoted. By when and who would be signing off on that? Who would be telling you that you met those requirements? If they can't answer all three questions, then you know that this is a vague piece of feedback and it's meant and used as an excuse to keep you guessing and to never promote you. All right. So if you identify with number 2, which is vague feedback, plop 2. I would love to hear, who can relate to this. And if you have the Tiara syndrome that I shared, plop 1. I'd love to know as well. All right. So the next sign of you not getting promoted, never getting promoted in this organization, is you being indispensable. So this is what I call the competence trap. The better you are at your current role, the more expensive it is for the organization to replace you. Here's the thing. If you're too good at it, the company gets selfish and they're thinking, well, why should we promote you? Because you're doing such a great job. We don't want anyone else to replace you. It's going to cost us a lot of money to find someone else and train them to take your place. Maybe there isn't someone already in the organization who can take your place, and they don't want to hire externally for you to move up. So it becomes a cage. And you know what? I was in that situation in one of the organizations. They promoted me once, but then they didn't want to promote me again, even though I was overdue. And they kept telling me that, hey, we can't, I was in consulting, so they said we can't, take you off this project because you're just too good at it. Who else is going to be doing the job? But here's the thing, it is not your problem. That is not your problem. You should not feel guilty about that. That is not a reason to stay. That's terrible. You need to look after yourself, because if they're not willing to move you up, what's going to happen is you're going to feel stagnant in your role. You're going to be doing it in your sleep. You're going to become demotivated. And the longer you stay in a role that is comfortable, the faster you get outdated, especially with this era of AI. And then you're going to reach a point where you're going to be at the same salary band and the cost of living is going to go up, and you're also going to be demotivated and under challenged, which is the biggest enemy for a high achiever. All right, the 4th sign. By the way, let me know in the chat if you're listening, whether it is live or in the replay. Let me know if you have ever experienced in your career the competence trap, which is being too good at your job that they don't want to promote you. Okay, you're running on intermittent reinforcement. That is another sign, a dangerous sign that it's time to leave. So there is a theory around variable ratio schedule, which is the most behaviorally addictive reward pattern that exists. It's what we call inconsistent praise, unpredictable praise. You know what's crazy about it? It's almost a type of phenomena that happens in also toxic relationships. If you've ever been with a partner who basically, or even if you've ever dated someone, because usually this happens when you're dating someone, not when you're like in a, you know, committed relationship, where the person is going hot and cold. Like one day they're praising you, the other day like they're ghosting you or being cold. This is the same thing. This is the same thing. One day your boss praises you sporadically without expecting it, and then the next day they are critiquing you. And so when that happens, your body just latches on to that unpredictability. It creates a dopamine effect. It makes the praise, because you're so deprived from getting praise and you're constantly getting critiqued, that praise that comes sporadically makes you like addicted. And so you start, saying, well, it's not that bad and I should just, try harder, and maybe I'm making a big deal about wanting to leave, and you end up staying. And that, basically 1 year where you said, I'm just going to give it a year, becomes 5 years, becomes 6 years. So I would sit down and I would have two columns. I would create two columns. In one column, I would put down the things that you were promised. And in the second column, I would write down what was actually delivered to you. If they said they were going to give you a raise, did they give you the raise? If they said that they were going to promote you in a matter of X number of months, did they do it? And that is going to give you a clear idea whether you are in this intermittent reinforcement cycle. And if you are, then it's very dangerous and you need to do something about it. This is where talking to a coach becomes very important, because you're sort of like kind of blinded by what the company is doing, and you need someone from the outside to remind you that what you're experiencing is real and it is toxic, and you need someone to create that accountability for you, to come up with an exit plan so that you don't end up wasting your life. Okay. I said 5 signs and I've only given you guys 4. What I'm going to share with you in the 5th one, a sign you know you need to leave is when you go on these sporadic binges where you go on LinkedIn and you hit the easy apply button when you're mad. It's almost like when you're in a relationship and you're not happy, you basically go into these cycles where you just say, I want to break up, right? To me, like the moment you say that you want to break up, that's it. You should just go for it, because if it was a healthy relationship, you wouldn't flip flop and say, I want to break up one day and then I don't, right? And I dealt with that, professionally, where every 6 months I would tell my boss I'm going to quit, but then I changed my mind. That thought should not cross your mind. If it crosses your mind, it means it's bad. No one should get to the point where they say they're going to quit. If they get to that point, it means it's bad, right? So that is basically the 5th sign, is when you get that thought like every few months that you want to quit. Okay, So I want to help you understand why, even when things are bad, you still want to stay. Because again, we are human beings and we have psychological things that hold us back, where we tell ourselves that it's going to get better, but it won't. So the first one is what I call sunk cost fallacy. A lot of people, they feel that they've invested so much in an organization. You've already given them 6 years. You've already given them 3 years. You've already given them 10, 15, 20 years. And you tell yourself that it's hard to leave. And that's what makes you want to stay. But the thing is, like everything in life, there's no such thing as sunk cost. I mean, I spent 3.5 years in a software engineering degree. I could have said, oh my God, there's so much sunk cost, I cannot change my degree. But to me, it's like, if I stayed any longer, I would have probably failed. I would have probably not enjoyed my career. And it wasn't a loss because I transferred what I've learned in engineering into another degree, and it just made me a better person. It just made me better at what I was doing. So it's not sunk cost. Whatever you built in that organization, you learned. Even if you didn't finish the initiative, even if the concern is, I don't want to leave because it's going to feel like I didn't build anything, not true. Whatever you learned to build as much as you did at the organization can be transferred over to another organization. And you know what? You may be in a situation where you're going to be able to build better things because the organization that you might end up going to is going to give you that title. It's going to give you that ownership. It's going to give you that permission to lead. And you are going to be able to innovate and build better things in a better environment. So this is why it's so important to not worry too much about the sunk cost. The second thing that makes people want to stay and not leave an organization is what I call loss aversion. Losses feel roughly twice as heavy and as equivalent gains. So the known bad reliably beats the unknown good. That's the problem. We're creatures of habit. We fear the unknown, and this is why we're scared of leaving a company. But sometimes taking a risk is good because it means that you could be in a way better situation. Hey Zubia, it's so nice to see you in my live. Thank you so much for supporting me. Status quo. Staying registers as neutral. It isn't. Staying is a decision you make every single day. So if you are overwhelmed and you tell yourself that, well, I don't want to make any decisions, you are making a decision by staying. And you are making hope a strategy when it isn't. Nothing in life will ever change if you don't make a plan. Hope is not a plan. A plan involves you deciding that you're too worthy to stay in a situation that doesn't serve you. Okay, so now that you've understood the 5 signs, I wanted to tell you that these 5 signs are attachment patterns that you can't see on your own. Sometimes when we're so in it, it's very difficult for us to realize that we are self-sabotaging. And we think that we're heroes by staying. We think that we're being loyal. We think that we're being grateful. We think that we're better off because the economy is bad. It's not. And believe me when I tell you that I have been in your situation where I told myself all these things, but they weren't helpful. And the moment I left, I was able to add $20,000 to my salary, $30,000 to my salary. So I really want you to think about it. I really want you to think about the situation. And if you have recognized yourself in three or in one, two, three, or more of these signs, I really invite you to take the first step to do something about it. Get some help. My door is open. And if you want to seriously work on this, I really encourage you to book that career diagnosis. And how you do it, I'm going to show you how. You can book with me. Let me just show you. This is my, let's see, LinkedIn profile. I encourage you to go to my LinkedIn profile. And if I zoom in, let me zoom in, you can see that under the heading, under my name, you can click book an appointment. And once you click on book an appointment, you can click book your career diagnosis. And then you can fill out a 2-minute questionnaire for me to understand your situation so that I can get the context and so that I can help you. All right. So I hope that you all learned from this. I really hope that you're in a bad situation. If you are in a bad situation, that you do something about it, okay? Because it's just not fun when you're a high achiever to be in a situation that doesn't serve you. My door is open. I want to be able to help because I do care and I know what it's like to feel undervalued. I hope you have a wonderful night. If you've enjoyed this live, it would mean so much to me if you give this a like. And if you have any questions or if there's something in particular that you really liked about this live, I'd really love it if you take a minute and share with me in the comments. This encourages me as someone who's a creator. You know, I do these lives for free, and it's always really cool to get, feedback so that I know what resonates with people and who is watching. And if you want to share with me like where you're tuning from, that would be awesome too, because I always love to know where people are from in the world tuning into my lives. I hope you all have a wonderful night. I am so sad that we only have 1 month left from summer. It just feels like the summer flew by. And I'll talk to you all soon.